and to let your own career politicians know that you are unhappy with this. And whether that's by email, or whether that's by letter, or whether that's by telephone call, I don't mind how you do it. But if you feel on these issues the way that we feel about this, let your politicians know that you're not prepared to go on accepting this without a referendum. Because, I mean, equally, you know, what happened in your country is every bit as disgraceful as what happened here at Westminster.
Yes, absolutely. And I wonder if there's anything you can say about Sarkozy and his way of meddling in his own kind of business and the EU and so forth. What do you think about him?
Well, he's an extraordinary bloke. And on a personal level, I quite like him because he's full of energy and fun and vigour. So, you know, even if he did have a slight collapse last week whilst out jogging, but, you know, you've got to admire the guy. He does bring a certain vitality to politics, which very often is missing. However, he's a person of great contradictions. You know, what he says one day appears to be contradicted directly by what he says the next day. But sometimes French national interests seem to matter rather more than European interests. But overall, you know, he got that treaty through without giving the French a second referendum. He is, I'm afraid, despite his rather endearing qualities, he is a part of the problem and not a part of the solution.
Well, someone recently said, I think, in an article that he's another Napoleon in a suit. Is he a little dictator, do you think?
Well, he's certainly got a very strong personality,
yeah.
And he's certainly somewhat mercurial. Yes, there are some slight Napoleonic tendencies there, I think.
All right. Is there anything you can say to us, the Swedish audience here, in regards to, I think, the parrot to Barroso sitting on his right side all the time, Margot Wallström, right?
Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear.
Yeah.
I don't want to be insulting
you can on this program.
towards one of your countrymen.
No worries.
It's not a very polite thing to do. Margot Wallström, I mean, frankly, her behaviour over the last 5 years has been abysmal. You know, she talks in Euro speak, in bureaucratic terms. She clearly doesn't understand what ordinary people are about. And I did offer an invitation to Margot a few years ago. I said to her that she'd be very welcome to come to my village pub in England on a Sunday lunchtime, where she could actually meet some real people and find out what they thought about the world. And I also offered, in a spirit of friendly cooperation, that I'd take her to a cricket match so she could understand the English game of cricket. But sadly, she hasn't taken me up on either of those things. She's somebody who lives inside the bureaucratic bubble, and she constantly, you know, whenever people vote no or whatever they say in referendums, she always says, well, of course, what the people really meant was that they want more Europe. No, Margot, you're not listening, are you? So, frankly, she's perfectly pleasant when you meet her on a one-to-one basis. And I met her the night of the Irish referendum. I was going in to do a BBC interview, and she was on before me. And as I walked into the studio, she was there with her press man. And I said, oh, hello, good evening, Margot. I said, yet another no vote that you intend to ignore, isn't it? And she sort of blushed slightly. No, she is just a part of that system, earning a very big salary, enjoying a very good lifestyle, but not even comprehending the need of ordinary voters.
Do you think that it's the money who actually drives them, or do you think that they really are into this European ideology, so to speak?
I think it's both. I think some of them believe in the European project, and that is their religion, if you like. For others, it's a highly paid job with the best pension scheme the world's yet invented for anybody, with a guarantee that effectively you can't ever be sacked. So in terms of a career move, for the sort of professional bureaucrat or professional politician, it is a very, very good thing to do. I can't tell you which Margot is. Perhaps she's a bit of both.
How about all the allowances fraud? The German TV station had one little newscast on this issue where it seems that a lot of MEPs are getting a lot of money out of this. They even have transitional allowances, which means that they get a lot of money after their term and so forth. What's going on there? Can that be stopped?
Well, I mean, there are one or two reforms that are coming into the travel expenditure, etc. And I think the real story to flag up is there is now a common salary for MEPs of €7,000 a month, right? Now, that figure may not appear to be very shocking for you or very shocking for us, but imagine if you come from Bulgaria or Romania, where the average salary is €160 a month, and you're now getting €7,000 a month. I mean, these are, to the Eastern European politicians, these are riches beyond the dreams of avarice. What an extraordinary system has been created. And isn't it interesting that 6 of the commissioners that we currently have were, in the old days, communists working for the Soviet government.
Yes.
And they've made the transition into being European commissioners. And that tells me as much as I need to know about the type of people governing us.
Yeah. So I have a few more questions for you here. The future of the EU, is there any way out of this? Can nations actually go out of the EU? Do you know this?
Of course they can. The Lisbon Treaty makes it more difficult because for the first time ever, it codifies the means by which a country can leave, saying that you have to state the intention to leave, and there's then going to be a 2-year cooling off and negotiating period. Personally, I'm going to refuse to respect the legitimacy of that. I won't respect this treaty because it's been pushed upon us by a government that had promised us a referendum on it. You can have all sorts of legal arguments about these things, but at the end of the day, if public opinion in your country or my country reaches tidal wave proportions, then it doesn't matter what the rule book says, it's public will that will out. And I believe this will happen. I can't tell you whether it's going to be next year, whether it's going to take 10 years, but I'm utterly convinced that the project does not have consent. I'm utterly convinced that the economic and social model that they're putting together isn't working, and I'm utterly convinced that all of us want to live in a Europe where we live in our own countries, govern ourselves, and try and be good next-door neighbours to each other, not live as part of a new, unified, militarised state.
The Euro, Sweden and Britain are currently not members of the monetarian union yet. Do you expect them to join soon? Will they ram this through as well?
I see no prospect of Britain joining the Euro. I can't comment intelligently on Swedish public opinion on this particular issue, but I think it highly unlikely that countries like Greece and Portugal and Spain and Ireland will be members of the Euro in 5 years from now, perhaps even 2 years from now. They just don't fit, not to mention the Italians who are finding it very, very difficult. I think it's more likely that countries will leave the Euro than countries like Britain and Sweden will join it.
Okay, so in closing here, then, what can people do if they want to help you or anyone else to support you in your efforts, or is there anything other kind of closing thoughts you have before we let you go?
You just make sure that in elections, whether they're local elections, whether they're national elections, whether they're European elections, you just make sure that you do not vote for politicians, whether they're left, centre or right, because frankly that's irrelevant compared with the bigger question. Do not vote for politicians that will continue to push you further into this project without giving you your say. And in the intervening time between elections, let them know how you feel. Remember, these people need votes to keep their jobs. The best way to get them to change, the best way to get them to give in and give you the chance in referendums to have your say is to frighten the life out of them.
Nigel Farage, thank you very much for your time, and Godspeed to the people behind you,
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for tuning in. Spread this program and let people know what's going on. Nigel is someone who is on the inside of the European system of government. Check out ukip.org or youtube.com/Europarl for European Parliament. youtube.com/Europarl for much more information. And of course, our website, redicecreations.com. Join our member section if you want to get access to more thought-provoking radio, video, films, and webcasts that all questions the global way politics is being run at this time and the other surrounding subjects that are of interest and importance. Check out our related program with David Icke on this issue as well. It's now available on our website, redicecreations.com, and our upcoming program with Martha Andreasen that Nigel mentioned during this program. My name is Henrik. My thanks to Fredrik and Elizabeth. We'll be back soon. Take good care, and we'll see you later.
President, Mr. Barroso says, I think my team is of high quality. Well, let's conduct a human audit. Now, I'm mindful that audits aren't very popular in the European Commission, and that auditors, if they do their job properly, get fired, but nonetheless, here goes. From France, we have Mr. Jacques Barrot. He'll take on transport. In 2000, he received an 8-month suspended jail sentence for his involvement in an embezzlement case and was banned from holding public office for 2 years. From Hungary, we have Mr. Kovács. He'll take on taxation. For many years, a communist apparatchik, a friend of Mr. Kadar, the dictator there, and an outspoken opponent of the values that we hold dear in the West. His new empire will produce